I've been at Calvary now for about 5 years, and it's an interesting story. I'll try to keep it short, but in 2011, I put out a CD called Work in Progress, and over the course of 3 years, this CD launched my national ministry of music, and I got booking requests, I got countless opportunities to do events and radio tours and all that kind of stuff. And in the course of doing that, there's a need for me to put a band together. And one of my friends said, hey, you should reach out to Gavin Smee. He's amazing at guitar. And so I did, and Gavin was a perfect fit for what I was doing. Little did I know that Gavin was related to Bree and was Rick's brother-in-law. He invited them to one of the shows that we did in Dallas, and I met Rick, I exchanged numbers with him, and then he later invited me to Calvary as a guest worship artist for a 4th of July weekend, and the rest is history. For me, it's simple. I believe that worship is simply a form of communication, and it's us talking God, or man to God, God to man, and that conversation is loaded with truth about who he is, his character, how he's good, how he's faithful, how he never fails, and then God singing over us what he says about us, how we're righteous, how we're blameless, how we're sinless in his sight. And that to me is what worship is, expressing those truths and those realities. For me, I grew up in a church that was rooted in what was known as the Word of Faith movement, and so there were terms like faith, righteousness, and finished work that I heard a lot, and I learned a lot from that upbringing, but there was this missing element of the love of God, the favor of God, the blessings of God being unconditional. We were taught that it was conditional. It's based on the 5 things, the 10 things, the 15 things that you have to do to receive that love, that favor, those blessings. And so to kind of come to this place and you get this revelation, like, no, like the work is finished and I don't have to work for it, I work from it. Like, that changed everything. I was sitting in gospel circle, we were studying Hebrews 10, and we're talking about the law being a shadow, but Jesus being the ultimate fulfillment of the law. We were talking about Old Testament sacrifices and how the people had to bring animal sacrifices to the high priest every year for the atonement of their sin. And I got this revelation, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, like in that moment. Even in the Old Testament, like the judgment, the punishment for sin was never on the people bringing the sacrifice. It was always on the sacrifice. And so you get to the New Testament, the New Covenant, who is that sacrifice? It's Jesus. Like, and just the light clicked for me, man. Like the love of God, like the grace of God. I was wrecked. I was on the floor crying. And from that day forward, man, like it has really impacted every area of my life, from my relationship with my wife to my kids to how I approach music and songwriting. Like it broke writer's block for me. Like for years, there was this like block when it came to writing worship songs, writing for the church worship experience. I ran out of stuff to say. Like, but the gospel cleared that, man. Like, there's so much packed in this idea that the work is finished. Like, you're not distant from God. Like, he lives within you. There's no lack. There's no delay. Like, man, that's good news. And that's what Calvary Worship is all about. And I'm excited, man, to declare this message through song. It's an honor, it's a privilege.